Good morning, everybody. This is Patricia Tomlinson, and I wanted to come on briefly to do this podcast this morning. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. So, let me get started. This morning, I was up between the hours of 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning. And as you currently may be able to hear, it is currently raining out. And this morning, it was also lightning and thunder. And for some reason, of course, more than likely because of the sound, I was not able to sleep. So I stayed up for a minute. I normally have to be to work by 6 o'clock a.m. And so I stayed up, and the noise of the thunder and the rumbling was so troublesome that when it got quiet at times, I felt as though maybe this is going to be an indication of a tornado. I looked on the weather advisory. It talked about hail and all these other things and factors that surround the indication that a storm was apparently there and that a tornado may be on the way. And so I wanted to talk to a couple people that are in that place right now. You're in a storm in your life. You're in a tornado. It feels like you're in a whirlwind. It feels like life has just picked you up, tossed you around, thrown you down. Everything is destroyed around you. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to locate people and find people for help. All your belongings are in shambles and you're lost. And that's exactly what a tornado does. A tornado will pick up a house, ravish it. No, let me start over. Actually, when the tornado is on its way to the house, it's picking and it's pulling it apart piece by piece before it finally just sweeps over it and removes the very foundation where this house stood. And so I want to give you a couple pointers today to help you if you find that you are in a storm. But I deliberately and intently want to talk to those that are in the in-between. Some of you are coming out of the storm. And I want to focus on those individuals today because normally after the storm, you see the storm coming sometimes, but it's the damage that is done after the storm. I wanted to title this podcast In Between, the importance of the transition. Transitions are very important in our life because they take us from point A to point B. They lead us somewhere, lead us away from somewhere, lead us to someone, lead us away from someone, lead us to our destiny. Transitions are critical, but transitions are not for the weak at heart. It is not for the faint at heart. You will notice many times that it feels like things are being broken down and pulled apart, just like the tornado, when it's ravishing through the homes and through neighborhoods and through communities. Tornadoes and storms just don't happen in communities and in houses. Tornadoes and storms can happen at your jobs. They can happen in friendships. Tornadoes and storms can happen at any interval at your life, any age. It's not biased towards color. Tornadoes and storms, it is about movement. A lot of times, when we look at a tornado or a storm, we automatically focus on the loss and the devastation. And sometimes the people that don't make it through the storm with you, the people that were supposed to be in a support system, the people that were supposed to anchor on with you, maybe you found yourself in a low place in your life, in the basement, crouched down, just holding on for dear life as you don't know what is to come. That's devastating. Some people have survivor's guilt and remorse that they made it through the storm and they're the only ones standing. Some people are looking at other people because the storm has caused them so much damage that they have a hard time looking at others because they're not in the same state as them. And it may seem as though they're better off, but I want to tell you, the storm comes and it damages everybody in different ways. So let me not belabor the point. Storms are transitions, very hurtful, very hard. Sometimes you can feel like you're the only one in the storm. And that may very well be true. Storms can sometimes separate you because that's the transition and that's what it required. Ironically enough, you don't always understand what the storm is meant to do. Some people say that the end of a trial or a situation or a tribulation or a difficulty, something that you encounter, shows you not only what you're made of, but it also shows you what the people around you are made of. And at the end of the storm, those that are standing with you, the storm did a good job. It showed you a lot about yourself, some good, ultimately some bad and horrible. Those are the hard parts that we as humans have a hard time facing, those hard parts about ourselves. However, I am really learning as I mature and learn more about myself that storms sometimes can be okay. Because at the end of the storm, you know that there's a quietness and there's a stillness and there's a peace that comes after the storm. It was loud, when the tornado was coming, you hear the hissing, you hear the sirens, maybe you even saw the warning signs. But sometimes certain storms can't be prevented. There's nothing that you can do to control it. All you can do is anchor down, stand flat-footed, and trust that you'll make it through to the end, regardless of if anybody is standing with you or not. Let's go back to the in-between. I was talking to a patient the other day at work. We were talking about and commenting on the rates of suicide and depression. And I explained to him that depression is a deep, dark hole, and death is the ultimate ending deep, dark hole. And I explained to him it's in 3 dimensions. Your eyes are closed, no more light. You're in a casket, which is another locked hole, and then you're buried 6 feet deep. Some people, because of their storms, have already buried themselves because the capacity of what happened and what took place is too much for them to bear. However, with suicide, it's the depression walking to that point of putting yourself in those places. So, I want to encourage somebody, because when you think about a storm, it's gonna come. Life is never easy. It can either make you or break you. Once again, the in-between, the transition. That's what I want to focus on today. As this patient and I discussed information, I ended up drawing what you would call a circle. And I told him every ending comes back around to a new beginning. So if you think about it, when you're at the end of something, you can no longer move forward in that. Okay? You may be getting caught out of a job. You may be getting caught out of a relationship. You may be getting caught out of school to start a business. You may be getting caught out of singlehood to be married. You may be getting caught out of not having children and having children. I do want to help you understand that every transition, every ending is not necessarily a bad ending. Emotionally, it could take a toll on you. Mentally, it could take a toll on you if you become comfortable in the state that you're in. But every transition is not a bad transition. So here we are. We find ourselves at the end of something. Of course, the in between, that dark spot where it seems like all hope is lost, you don't know your way through, you don't know who to talk to, you don't know who to go to for support. You feel empty, you feel depleted, you feel tired, drained, irritable, frustrated. All these things from the journey, from the storm, from the trial, the situation, the problems. You're weary. This is a wonderful point to be at in your life. I can laugh about it because I've been at this point many of times. So you're at the end and it's dark. Who do you talk to? You feel like no one understands you. And that is a perfect place to be. In that dark place, you're being refined, you're being fine-tuned, more than likely you're being prepared, you're being separated, and ultimately the alienation or isolation breeds transformation. That is what the in-between is for. It's a place of transition. Maybe it's the ending of the old self to your new self. And so you find yourself in this place. And all you have is faith. And if you do not, I would enlighten you and charge you to start to develop your faith. To start to make a vision and a picture for your life. No, you may not know where you're going, where you're going to end up, who's even going to end up with you. However, hope will give you a new vision for your life when you can't seem to see your way through. Yes, the in-between is dark. You may start looking at the injustices that you have endured, how unfair treatment has been towards you, rejection, misjudgment, but you made it to the in-between. I know that's going to sound crazy if I say that you've made it to the dark place. And I want to give you a second to think about that because you may be there right now. What do I do? This thing has devastated me. You're crying. You feel like people are laughing and mocking you. But you're in a good place. You don't feel like you can get back up. You don't understand how you got into the position that you're in, into the place that you're in. You feel broken. You feel barren. And you're hurting. And you're wounded. And all the while, people are laughing at you, conspiring against you in your broken place to do more damage. I will tell you, you are in a good place. Because as you continue to maneuver forward, create a new vision for your life, anchor onto faith, and not give up, before you know it, your breakthrough happens out of that transition into that new place, into that new life, into that new mission, that new adventure, that new business, the new relationship, the new friendships, the new financial possibilities. I want to tell you that I wanted to do this podcast to simply tell you nothing is impossible with God. We go through dark times, we endure adversity, but it builds us up. It may seem like it strips us, but it helps us. In the end, you will understand the beginning, but you have to get to your ending first. You have to go through your transition. The transition is basically closing. It's the pause, it's the break, it's the Selah before you get to that new place. And it seems so hard to relax in the dark. Some people don't like to be in the dark. They can't see in the dark. And that is what hope is for. That is what faith is for. So today I do want to encourage you that as storms are raging in your life, disappointments may seem like they are far more than you can take. You feel like you can't take one more thing. Be encouraged. Encourage yourself because someone may not understand. You are in a transition. You are in the in-between of a thing. Whatever your thing is. Job, school, finances, friendship, relocation. The in-between is your blessing. Because you know that if you're in between, you've made it to the end. And now you just have to wait for your new beginning to begin. So I wanted to get on this morning and just encourage you with this podcast to remain faithful and hopeful. Your new horizon is breaking forth. Do something good for yourself. Show yourself some love. More importantly, if you are drained and your cup is empty, you may not be able to show another person love in the capacity that you would want to. So just take your time with yourself. Be gracious and patient with yourself. Pull yourself in to get rejuvenated and refreshed and built back up from the storm that was sent to destroy you.